I started the exhibition with showing a monument to the mulberry tree. And the monument is just that. It's an ancient mulberry tree, which I found on the side of the road. And it has collapsed with age. It must be about 300 years old. And I felt that to bring this to my studio and to show it as a symbol of silk production was just the right thing to do. The title is La vie en soie, so it is a French title, which means the life in the silk, and that's how I feel about my work, my interest in silk, my working with silk in many different ways. I design clothing as well as installations and textiles for the wall, so I felt this is a very appropriate title for the show here in Beaunieu. I love history, and history brought me back to Europe. Living in a medieval village, being surrounded by beautiful old walls and roofs with ceramic tiles and feeling the history really fills me with joy. And having a space to work in, which is partially dug in the solid rock, is such a wonderful place to be. The show and the cave itself is really one, because it's a space which I have created. When I first discovered this incredible troglodyte cave, I knew that it has to become my studio space. One of the reasons why I was so compelled to create this body of work was the fact that in my frequent visits with the local people, with my neighbors, I had a sense that the silk rearing and silk production and silk cocoons, silkworms were becoming forgotten. I felt that by showing this will remind them how important silk has been in their lives or in the lives of their families. I had a generation of silkworms last year, just a year before the show, and I have incorporated the cocoons as part of this exhibition. The piece behind me is a vine which grew on the side of an old home in Seignan. The vine had to be taken off because it was damaging the stonework. I saved the wood, and this became the base for my generation of silkworms and silk cocoons. The piece from the distance looks very textile. It's quite amazing how similar the woven threads look to a tightly woven vine which nature wove. One of the more commonly used implements in every household was a stand for drying wine bottles. The stand is almost Christmas tree shape with hooks sticking out, and it was only obvious for me to hang the big skeins of silk from that structure. women who worked in the silk industry spent long hours with their hands dipped in hot water because that's how the cocoons were unwound. They were left in boiling water, and then the women had to reach for the thread and pull the thread, usually about 4, 5, or 6 strands into one continuous strand. Having the hands in the water for such a long time, the hands became wrinkled, texture has changed, and I wanted in some way to show it in my work. I have collected few dozens of beautiful leather gloves. I have attached a cocoon to 2 fingers, which symbolizes women holding the silk cocoon. And I have also dipped the gloves in water and caustic soda to shrink them. So when you see the piece, you can see that the gloves have been changed. They have a different texture than normal gloves, and symbolically it shows the women who worked in the silk industry at that time. I think silk came with the Pope. When the Pope came to Avignon with his entourage, he also brought the weavers, and he brought the silk culture from Italy and also from the Orient. Quickly, the looms were set up in Lyon, and Lyon became a large center of silk production. But Lyon needed thousands and thousands of cocoons in order to produce the silk threads, and the Luberon was a perfect area where the mulberry trees grew, and mulberry trees were planted in hundreds. We are talking about 400 years ago, and these trees are still alive, still groomed by the farmers. There is no silk production here now, but I think it's in farmers' DNA to look after the mulberry trees. One of the more attractive for me pieces in the show is a series of dresses. And the title of this piece is The Mulberry Language. Quite early on, I have discovered that a mulberry tree, when under stress, will produce leaves very different from each other's. When picking the leaves to feed my silkworms, I would place them on a table and see that the shape is very different. I decided to create a mulberry language. I have assigned a letter of alphabet to every leaf, and I wanted to write a mulberry poem. It became a bit too complicated, but I loved the form of the leaves side by side in lines like verses on my table. So this became a print which I have printed on the dresses. Overlapping this print is another print of an old notary letter from 1700s from a market here in Provence. This piece really shows you how magnificent silk is. It has the sheen, but also it's transparent and it moves in the wind. The largest piece in my show is called The Silk from the Sky. It is a real Second World War parachute, which is a beautiful structure of silk ribbons. The ribbons are probably made of the most expensive, most beautiful silk that there is. And what a shame that it was used for the war effort. Also symbolizes the very end of silk production in Provence. So this is a very meaningful piece because the last effort of producing silk was for the war. I have stretched the silk parachute from the ceiling. I wanted to somehow symbolize that it was a transformation in some sort too, because the silk moth produced the silk, and then the silk was used for the wars. The planes dropped the parachutes. So to the surface of that beautiful stretched parachute, I have attached hand-carved tiny toy planes and toy moths, symbolically showing also the end of the silk production in Provence. Every piece in the show is part of the adventure. Bringing the old mulberry tree and having to cut it in half because it was too heavy for 4 men to bring it to the shop of the iron man who had to create a base for it and make sure that it stands. This is a very exciting moment. I came here to have the first look at newly printed catalog, and it took many months or weeks of preparation, and now it's done, and I cannot wait to see it. Very beautiful.
The most incredible thing about Joanna is her versatility and her ability to surprise. She's a passionate person. She's passionate about her art. She's passionate about her life. She'll create scenes that are overwhelming.
She just has such vision. It's beautiful, and you could tell from the faces of people that exit from the exhibit that how delighted they are.
Well, it's such a wonderful realization of the works, and to see them grow and occupy this space has been very inspiring, but also to come here and realize how Joanna has brought her life of experience and production to this place and really integrated it both into this space and to the community. And to see all of these incredible people, the artistic community of Bonnieux, here in her space, enjoying the work and relating their own personal experiences and personal histories to the art as well.
I'm Camilla Regent. I'm curator of La Vie en Soi. Today, I'm delighted to welcome Joanna Staniszkis with her friends in my gallery in Seignan and Artist Residence. Artist Residence we are created with my husband Pierre Jaccaud 23 years ago, and we are welcomed more than 200 artists from all over the world.
launching my show, I want to indicate that this is an art which has died. So it is in memoriam to the silk, but I also hope that maybe it can still be revived because the trees are still here. Every year they produce beautiful, juicy leaves. And I think there is no reason why it should not come back.